the most profitable real estate empire in human history, doesn't own a single skyscraper. It doesn't sell software, and it certainly doesn't trade on Wall Street. It's paved in asphalt across 47,000 miles of American dirt. To most people, the US Interstate Highway System is just public infrastructure. A plain, boring grid of roads built by the government, for commuters, road trips, and truck drivers. But that is the ultimate illusion. Beneath that black asphalt lies a hyper-efficient, multi-trillion-dollar economic engine, a machine that quietly dictates where wealth flows, which corporate empires survive, and how billions of dollars are extracted from your pocket every single year. You see, the federal government spent over $500 billion to build this grid. On paper, it's public property. In reality, it operates like a massive, invisible monopoly, a system where every off-ramp, fuel station, and logistics corridor is engineered to funnel capital into the hands of a very select group of private players. And it all started with a top-secret pitch that promised to defend America from nuclear destruction, but ended up creating the greatest corporate money printer the world has ever seen. To understand who really controls this asphalt grid and who is quietly extracting its wealth, you have to look at a secretive corporate lobby formed back in 1932. In the mid-1950s, President Dwight D. Eisenhower pitched the interstate system to the American public as a national defense priority. The story was simple and terrifying. In the event of an atomic attack by the Soviet Union, major cities would need to be evacuated instantly. The military needed wide, high-speed routes to deploy troops, move nuclear missiles, and clear out urban centers. It was framed as a matter of national survival. Congress bought it. And in 1956, the Federal Aid Highway Act was passed, authorizing the largest public works project in American history, but behind closed doors. The blueprints weren't being drawn up by military strategists. They were being shaped by the Highway Users Conference, a powerful alliance of oil giants, concrete manufacturers, and auto executives. These corporate giants realized something astounding. If they could get the American taxpayer to pay for the land, the grading, and the concrete, they could build a permanent, subsidized distribution network for their own private products. Automobile companies got a guaranteed demand for cars, as public transit systems were systematically dismantled across the country. Oil companies got endless miles of gas-guzzling asphalt, and trucking cartels got a free freight network. That effectively bankrupted the private passenger rail industry overnight. The defense narrative was the ultimate bait-and switch. The military rarely used the network for strategic deployments. Instead, the interstates became a giant public subsidy for private transport. Yet, funding the construction of the highways was only step one. The real challenge was keeping the machine fueled, which led to a financial masterstroke that still charges you money every single day. How do you maintain a 47,000-mile system that costs billions of dollars every year to repair? You build an automated tax collection system that consumers willingly pay without even realizing it. Enter the Highway Trust Fund, established alongside the interstates. This fund created a direct line between the gas pump and federal infrastructure spending. Every single time you squeeze the fuel nozzle, a fixed percentage of that transaction goes straight into this national bank account. For decades, it was a financial perpetual motion machine. More highways meant more driving meant more fuel sales meant more tax revenue, which funded the construction of, you guessed it, even more highways. By the late 1980s, the Highway Trust Fund was swimming in tens of billions of dollars. It created a gold rush for private contractors, engineering firms, and asphalt suppliers who racked up infinite government contracts. It was the perfect financial cycle, until the engineering math broke down. In the late 1990s, cars became significantly more fuel efficient. Suddenly, vehicles were driving more miles while burning less gas. On top of that, inflation slashed the buying power of the gas tax, which hadn't been raised since 1993. The perpetual cash machine began to sputter, and the system fell into a massive structural deficit. By 2008, the fund was completely out of money, threatening to leave thousands of miles of critical highway in total ruin. To save the system from collapsing, The federal government made a desperate deal with Wall Street, setting off a controversial rush to sell off American roads when government funds dried up. Private equity firms smelled blood in the water. Wall Street executives realized that highways aren't just roads, they are inelastic assets. People must drive to work. Freight companies must transport goods. Demand never goes to zero. So, state governments began doing something unthinkable. They started leasing public interstates and toll roads to foreign investors and private consortiums. Consider the case of the Indiana Toll Road. In 2006, the state of Indiana signed a 75-year lease agreement with a private consortium, handing over control of 157 miles of highway in exchange for a lump sum of $3.8 billion. The private operators immediately raised toll rates by double digits, optimizing the highway like a private monopoly focused purely on maximum profit margins. And here is where the story takes a dark turn, hidden deep within the legal contracts. Many of these private lease deals include non-compete clauses. That means if the local state government tries to build or repair a nearby local road that might take traffic away from the toll road, the state has to pay massive financial penalties to the private operators. In short, state governments literally signed away their right to improve public transport, just to protect private Wall Street profits. Yet, toll booths are only one piece of the economic puzzle. The real multi-billion-dollar fortune is sitting right at the exit ramps. If you look closely at a highway exit ramp, you aren't just looking at asphalt, you're looking at a carefully calculated psychological funnel. For decades, companies like McDonald's, Holiday Inn, and Stuckey's understood a basic truth of human psychology. High-speed driving creates decision fatigue, anxiety, and depletion. When a driver sees those iconic blue highway exit logos, they aren't making a complex economic choice. They want fast, predictable safety. This created the most competitive real estate boom in suburban history. A single acre of land right next to an interstate off-ramp can sell for 10 times the price of an identical plot of land just 2 miles down the road. Why? Because that off-ramp acts as a bottleneck, forcing tens of thousands of captive consumers into a tiny corridor of commercial choices every single day. Look at modern truck stops like Buc-ee's or Love S. These aren't just gas stations. They are massive retail cathedrals engineered around highway logistics. Buc-ee's locations can feature up to 120 fuel pumps, generating millions in retail sales purely off drivers stepping off the interstate grid. Major retail giants built their entire business models around this principle. Walmart built its distribution centers almost exclusively within 3 miles of interstate interchanges, lowering its freight transit times by crucial minutes. Amazon followed the exact same playbook, dropping fulfillment centers along key interstate arteries like Interstate 95 and Interstate 80. The highway didn't just support American business, it determined who won and who went bankrupt. Main streets in small towns across the country were drained of life, as economic activity moved permanently out to the exit ramps. And now, this multi-billion-dollar off-ramp ecosystem is facing the biggest disruption in its 70-year history. We are now on the edge of a fundamental shift. 3 massive trends are colliding to rewrite the economics of the interstate network: electric vehicles, autonomous trucking, and automated satellite tolling. First, electric vehicles do not pay a single cent of gas taxes. As EV adoption grows, the Highway Trust Fund loses even more revenue, pushing state governments toward mandatory vehicle miles traveled taxes. That means GPS trackers, monitoring every single mile you drive, and charging your bank account in real time. Second, autonomous freight trucks don't need rest stops. They don't buy fast food, they don't sleep in motels, and they don't stop at gas stations. When long-haul trucking transitions to driverless fleets, the billions of dollars spent at off-ramp commercial centers could vanish, threatening the complete collapse of exit-ramp economies across rural America. Finally, private tech companies are stepping in to build automated, smart lane infrastructure, charging private vehicles variable toll rates based on traffic congestion in real time. The Interstate Highway System began as a grand public project built for national defense. It evolved into the ultimate platform for private wealth creation,